Hello, it's Debbie again, and I want to welcome you to our little book talk. And again, Adele is joining me, and I'm going to talk about the books I recommended in the March issue of Welcome Home magazine. Again, I want to thank all the subscribers for their faith in me and for their faith in the books that I recommend. The first book, you want to say anything?
Well, one of the things I was thinking is I love how you're very eclectic in how you consume your books.
Yeah,
and I thought maybe you could talk to the audience, especially because this month it's quite different how you consume the 3 selections. So maybe talk about that.
Well, obviously I love books. I love the feel of books and just holding them in my hand. But because I travel so much, it's hard to carry books with me. So I read a lot of books on my Kindle. And I also will listen to audiobooks. I have an audiobook on in the car, in the kitchen. It goes with me wherever I go. So I'm always have books going. Story is very important to me. And it's very important to me as an author to keep up with what people are buying. And so I try to read everything that is on the New York Times list, which would be impossible, but select ones at any rate, to understand why readers are really connecting with these stories. And the way to do that for me is the audiobooks. The first book I want to recommend for this month is a book that I read on my Kindle. I happen to really enjoy Regency's. And this is a new author to me. Her name, and it's only available on Kindle. Her name is Audrey Harrison. And this is actually 4 books in one, and it's the story of 4 sisters. And their father is insisting that they marry title. He is a businessman in Regency, England, which is a much lower class. And he's insisting that each one of his daughters marry royalty. And he's bestowed upon them huge dowries. And every story is unique, and every sister is unique. And I really enjoyed the books. In fact, I bought like 4 more of her stories.
I remember the book you wrote once, 3 Brides, No Groom. And it was 3 individual stories in one. Did it have kind of that same feel to it? Or was it really, you were able to integrate the 3 stories into one narrative? Were these 4 distinctive stories, or did they integrate together?
Well, it was 4 friends. So that was, and these are all related sisters. So that was written how many years ago? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I sometimes forget about certain books.
Yeah, they were all 3 distinctive stories, but they all kind of collaborated into one in a really great way. I believe they were coming back to college.
Oh, a reunion.
And they were gathering in this square, and they kind of shared their stories of what had happened
in their lives.
Yes.
Yeah, something that related back to their college days.
Yes. So for this story here in particular, was it one sister's entire story and then skips right to the next sister's story?
Yes.
Okay, so they're very distinctive.
Very distinctive,
okay.
and these actually were published each individually at one point, but this was, I oftentimes will see things on Kindle that are like 99 cents, and I'll try them, and because it was a Regency and it said the 4 books were in one, I thought, well, I might as well for 99 cents, and I absolutely enjoyed the story so much. And like I said, I bought like 3 or 4 more of her books that I'm looking forward to reading. Great. Okay, next book. And this is called Dear Mrs. Bird. And this takes place in World War II. When I read Noelle Salazar's book about World War II, The Flight Girls, it just whetted my appetite to read more about that time period. And so I have read several books like that now. And Mrs. Bird is about 2 young ladies in World War II England. And one of them is just dying to be a war correspondent. And she applies for a job at the newspaper, and they end up giving her the role of the advice columnist, which is not what she had in mind.
I have been so drawn to the stories of women during World War II. They're really
there's several of them.
They bring such a richness to what was going on during that time that feels new and fresh. And I've been consuming a lot of World War II stories as well, especially with narratives from a protagonist who's female. I just love them.
And because of Dear Mrs. Bird, it reminded me of a book that I had read years ago by an author by the name of Catherine Ray. I think it's pronounced Ray. Catherine Ray, because I did meet her. She was in Florida when Wayne and I lived in Florida, and doing a signing at the local bookstore there, and I went to meet her. And actually, I had bought and read the book before I even knew she was going to be there. And it's a wonderful story about a girl who has an opportunity to go to college, and an anonymous donor has agreed to pay for her college expenses as long as she writes letters to Mr. Knightley. And so she starts writing letters to him, and as she's writing letters, she's just kind of pouring out her heart to this older man. So, but there again, there are a few little surprises and a little love story in it. I believe this was Catherine's first book, and she's gone on to write many more, but this was the one I enjoyed the most.
So surprisingly enough, I just listened to this one on audio. I'm much more of an audio listener than a reader. I find that reading often tires me, whereas if I listen in audio, it energizes me. And this one was an audible escape. And so I just recently finished this story. So interestingly enough, both
of us have read it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you years ago, myself more recently. So.
Yeah, what reminds me of what you said reminds me of what one of my readers said to me. You're my favorite author. You put me to sleep every night. So,
Right.
So I said, I put my daughter to sleep too.
Not on audio.
So, and again, these books are being offered to you as my special people and my special subscribers. And all you have to do is comment below.